somebody say something about don't miss it.
Oh, I can't.
Be there.
Listen, be there because tonight it was on fire. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to a special edition of a Wild Time podcast. Thank you guys for all the subscriptions, all the likes, all the shares, man. We have been really doing well. We had Beatrice Buckley, who played Freddy Krueger's mom in A Nightmare on Elm Street 5 to start spooky season off. But tonight, on the second episode, the second edition of Relatives of the Ring, the Wild Time podcast, we are going to have, it's perfect for spooky season because she is none other than the daughter of the most maniacal clown ever. Doink the Clown, Matt Osborne, a man that was with the Rat Pack, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Ted DiBiase. He went to WCW and he was the lumberjack up in the Northwest as Big Josh, but it was in WWF when they gave him that character that he really sunk his teeth in and become that evil clown that had that laugh that will always stick with you. Ladies and gentlemen, give a round of applause to Teagen Osborne. Teagen, how's it going, buddy?
Oh, it's going. How are you?
Well, we talked a little bit before we went or started filming here. I've just been on a race against time. My cousin called and wanted me to go get my nephew a trampoline. So we've been on the run in my truck, went and got his trampoline. I get home, my wife wants, my son want a Little Caesars pizza, hop in the SUV, go get the pizza, come back. So I've just been on the run. I've been on the run.
I feel it.
But like I said, I got to give a huge shout out to Kilby for getting us on here tonight because like I said, this is something I've been wanting to do for a while. Just to have guys, relatives of the legends of the business, like, Ravishing Rick Rude. It was my hero. He's the reason I got into pro wrestling. And I had Rick Rude Jr. on, and he was so cool. I mean, honestly, so cool. And now, a man that I looked up to and studied his work, Matt Osborne, I have his beautiful daughter on it. It's really cool. And like I said, I can't thank you enough.
Yeah, of course.
Well, tonight it couldn't have come at a better time. It's spooky season. I mean, I do a lot of Halloween. I'm a human horror movie. That's my wrestling character, the human horror movie. I'm just a loose cannon that grew up admiring all the horror icons. Ever since I've been tiny, I love scary movies. And the Texas Chainsaw Massacre being my franchise. Leatherface is my dude. But before we kick this off, do you like scary movies?
I love scary movies.
What's your favorite? Not to sound like Scream, but what's your favorite scary movie?
Definitely Michael Myers. I like me some Michael Myers. So
Halloween, I just bought a Michael Myers mask at the last convention and met Tyler Maine. He was Michael Myers in Rob Zombie's Halloween. And this dude, he was a pro wrestler. He was in WCW around the same time Matt was probably in WCW as Nitron and Big Sky. But Michael Myers is such an iconic character. Halloween's back with the trilogy they had just done. A lot of people are not happy with the last one. Did you watch the last one?
I did watch the last one. I wasn't too happy with it because you didn't really see him that much. But yeah,
very confusing. That one was one of the more because he stayed in that sewer. He stayed in the sewer the whole time. But during that movie, I'm thinking to myself, because they had the young boy that was babysitting the kid that died or whatever. And he was kind of becoming like the town boogeyman. And I was like, man, are they going to go the route of having a new slasher? They're going to move from Michael Myers to this guy. And then he gets killed. And you're like, well, now they're just going to kill Michael Myers off also. So what does that leave the legacy for this trilogy that it started off really well, I thought.
Yep, I did too. I thought the same exact thing. And then when I was like, why is his powers going into this little boy? It just made no sense to me. But the original Michael Myers was good. That was my favorite.
Did you like the second one when she's in the hospital the night right after the original?
Yeah, it was better than the third one.
Yeah.
So it was better than the third one. I'll just say that. But the first one was good.
First one is something, I met Tony Moran that played Moran. Listen, I met Tony Moran that played Michael Myers when he takes the mask off. Nick Castle actually played Michael Myers, but for some reason they had Tony Moran play it when she pokes him in the eye and he wrestles the mask off and stuff. So he was a really cool dude also. And Scarefest in Lexington, I'm from Kentucky. You can't tell by this accent. I'm sure you thought I was up north. But anyways, we have a convention in Lexington called Scarefest, and they're going to be really Halloween heavy. I think James Courtney that played Michael Myers in the new one. Nick, they're going to have a lot of them. So I'm excited to get down there. But it's awesome to know that you like scary movies, and we're in October right now.
Yep.
Well, let's tell me a little bit about yourself growing up, because you are, you're the daughter of a professional wrestling legend. How was that?
Yeah. So growing up, I feel like I didn't really know the significance of my dad's career in general until I got a little bit older. But growing up as a young kid, just the background of me, I was a nerd. I loved school. I was also athletic. I mean, I guess I still am, but I don't play sports anymore because I'm old. But I played softball for 15 years. I was super good at it. I loved it. I loved school. I loved getting good grades, and I guess that's where it led me today. But speaking of my dad, I mean, yeah, I didn't really notice I knew he was famous, but I didn't know like the significance of the fame, because I'm like, well, you're not The Rock, because The Rock is famous. Like I compared that. But then when I got older, I'm like, oh my God, like he was actually the shit. Like he was good. So yeah.
Well, it sounds like you were the prototypical good kid. I mean, make good grades, great athlete. I mean, that was a real blessing to your parents.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I was. I mean, yeah, I really never got in trouble. After my dad died, I was 15. So, a 15-year-old girl that's hormonal and their dad just passes away. I did go through a little rough patch. Fought a lot with girls because they were mean to me, but I got into some fist fights after that age, but let's just say after the fist fights, they never fought with me again. So.
Well, to hear the stories of your father and your grandfather, I would have just not even fooled. I would have probably stepped elsewhere before I'd swung hands.
I mean, yeah, I'm not the toughest girl in the world, but I'm not weak. So,
right. Well, if you were athletic and you had a mean streak in you, then 9 times out of 10, it means you're coordinated. And if you know how to throw a punch, then you're going to be a little bit harder to deal with than most people.
Yep. So, yep.
Now, did you like professional wrestling growing up?
I didn't. My brother loved it because I think it was just like a guy thing with my dad. Like he knew that my dad did do what he sees on TV. My brother loved John Cena. He was like obsessed. He loved The Rock. I did have a crush on oh my gosh, Randy Orton.
Oh yeah, my wife loved Randy Orton too.
I had a crush on him. I made my dad buy me the shirt because him and my brother went to one of the Friday night SmackDowns in Pittsburgh whenever my visit, and I'm like, Dad, you have to get me a Randy Orton shirt. So he got me that. But other than that, I really wasn't a big fan. And I don't watch it either. But when I got prepared for the Dark Side of the Ring episode, I watched a lot of matches, just to really see exactly how great my dad was. I knew he was good. I heard about it. My mom said he was great. And it takes a lot for my mom to compliment somebody too. But yeah, I didn't watch it. My brother did. He was a big fan for a little bit. So,
that's awesome. Now, I mean, and you speak about Dark Side of the Ring. Before we started, when I reached out to you, I was like, man, I don't want to talk about any of the negative things because, there's so much good from these guys that you don't have to touch on the negative stuff. I think a lot of the people, when it comes to Dark Side of the Ring, I was excited to watch it about your father, but it wasn't to see, how bad he was or this and that. It was to just go into his life and to see how he trained. And I often think, a lot of people get mad at the producers and stuff, but I don't really think it's like them wanting to trash the wrestler. I think it's more or less them wanting to dive and let you say, hey, listen, this could go wrong. It's a different lifestyle. Like I don't do it on the level that, your father or any of the other greats did. I'm a independent local wrestler and, I'm in the tri-state area, but, it hurts. People don't really, and I used to fight MMA and box and stuff in my 20s. So I got hurt way worse than a pro wrestling ring than I ever did. And to think that, back in the day in the 80s, 70s, if you didn't wrestle, you didn't get paid. So to see these guys, you hear so many getting on pain pills and stuff. And it's not because they wanted to get wild. Some of them may have wanted to get wild and party, but a lot of them was to work. Those guys had to self-medicate to get in the ring the next night. And I think that was a big misconception of professional wrestling for a long time because everybody's like, oh, he's on pills. He just wanted to party, but he wanted to get paid to put food on his family's table. And a lot of guys, that's the trap they fell in.
Well, back then too, I mean, I remember hearing stories that my mom and dad would talk about, and there would be people back there saying, "Are you okay? What do you need?" And they'd be like, "Oh, my knee hurts." Give them a pill. I mean, that's just what it was in the locker room. So, and it probably still is today. I mean, I can't say that for sure, but I guarantee that might be a thing still, because you do get beat up. I mean, my dad's knees, he was only 54 when he died, 55. I can't even remember at this point, but he literally, his knees were so bad. He would have probably had 2 knee replacements if he was still alive already.
It is
So,
it is so and their schedules back then were unbelievable, man. They would do double shots. I mean, they worked Christmas, they worked Thanksgiving, and it was just brutal on the human body. And
yep.
but like one of I forgot to give a shout out to my sponsors. Anyways, I'll do that at the end of the show, but I have to give a shout out to Bo's Tractor Works, because they have came up with a CBD sad that has been changed. I mean, they come to the wrestling events, Bo does, and he brings the CBD cream, puts it on my elbow. I mean, it helps aches and pains and everything. And we were just up in Chillicothe at a convention for legends, and we were handing this jar of salve out to like the Barbarian, Haku, Rikishi, any guy that was there, we were giving them. And Bo is basically like, man, all our heroes, got hooked. If they would have had some of this stuff to put on, and it would have took a lot of the pain away, they wouldn't have got hooked on drugs. And it's such a really good thing he's got going on right now. And Bo's Tractor Works, I mean, that's a name. You can find them on Facebook. They do awesome, man. But yeah, like you said, 2 knee replacements probably, and his back was probably rough at the time. I mean, it's brutal on the body. But did you have a good relationship with your father growing up?
It wasn't the best. And as I got older, after he passed, I realized that like we were just so much alike. We butted heads to the max. I mean, he was around, obviously, because I know my dad. He just I didn't live with him for long periods of time. Like I remember living with him max probably 3 years. And then the rest of my life, he just basically, would live in a state, visit us multiple times a year because he was still doing independent wrestling or doing this or doing that. But when he came home, I think it was just like, I don't know what it was, but if he would like try to tell me what to do, I'd be like, Dad, like, you're not here all the time. You don't get to tell me what to do. Like, but him and my brother were tight. But me and my dad had our moments. I remember being on the phone with him for hours when and I would just pace around the dining room table, and I lived with my grandma at the time, my mom's mom. And she'd be like, Teagen, Jesus, sit down. You're driving me nuts. Like, I'm talking to Dad. Like, I don't know. Like me and him did get along on that level, and we both got each other. And I remember being a little girl and all I wanted was my dad.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, it's just like, you see if you see bad things that your parents do, and I'm not saying I saw him do drugs. I've never seen him do drugs,
Right.
But I saw him get angry, and, as a little kid, that scares you. So, I feel like that was also part of it, but my brother, like they were always tight, always, no matter what. And I was just hard headed, and my dad was too. But, at the end, we really got along, and I do miss him. I wish he was still here, because I know if he was still here today, we'd be best buds. I know we would. So
no doubt about it, man. I mean, and one thing that he would have really benefited from is helping the younger generation out, man, because I mean, a man with that much knowledge, knew how to work, was, I mean, legit tough guy. And, it wasn't that he was just such a great worker in the ring. He was a heck of a technician. But the way he did the Doink character, man, because think about this. You're Maniac Matt Bourne. You're just a tough guy, just a bearded tough guy. And you go to WWF and they say, all right, we want you to be the evil clown. Can you do it?
Yeah.
And you go from being just, pair of black trunks, a rough beard, just a good, just a tough guy, and then you go in and you've got to dress up like a clown. How do you get that over? I mean, have you heard stories about how he prepared for that, or have you heard anything how that character began?
Yes. So I remember my mom and dad talking about it when I was young. Vince McMahon came to my dad with this idea. He just said, I want you to be this evil clown. I just don't know how I want you to do it, but can you make it work for me? And my dad's like, absolutely. So my dad watched a lot of the Joker movies. I can't remember. It was like the original ones, studied them. And that's one thing about my dad. When he like really cared about something, he like really got into it. And also little things that Doink did, like the laugh or the silly things he did in the ring, or when he just tortured the kids with the water on his flower. Like that was my dad in real life. Like he was also super goofy too. Like, and I think I told this story on the last podcast I did, but it's so funny. So after dad passed, my brother and we obviously still live together because we were both minors. Yeah. And we're in the kitchen and we're eating Burger King. Okay. And my dad loved Burger King. Why? I don't know, but I'm eating a Whopper. And I was standing there eating the burger and I looked at Matthew, and this is so embarrassing, but I'm going to do it. I was like, ooh, look, I'm eating a Whopper. So I did something like in that vicinity, and Matthew looked at me and he went, oh my God, I just saw fucking dad. That was weird. And like, when I think about that now, I'm like, oh my God, like that was Doink. Like when I was rewatching those videos for Dark Side of the Ring, I'm like, oh my God, like I'm goofy like that. So I know where I get it from. You know what I mean? So, but
basically what had happened was in that kitchen, you could have been the daughter of Doink. I mean, you could have got in the business and played that, man. That would have been perfect. You being an athlete, softball player, I mean, strong, that would have been perfect.
I know. And I think about that all the time. Like when I back to the Dark Side of the Ring, at the end of my interview, they didn't put this in the show, obviously, but they said, hey, like, what would you do if WWE called you? And I said, for what? And they're like, to wrestle. And I went, me? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, well, I'm not like physically fit like I used to be. And they're like, well, it doesn't matter. It's about how your personality is and how you are in front of the camera. And I'm like, honestly, if they called me and they're being serious, I'd be down. I would do it for my dad, is what I would do. But I would only let them do it if they let me go back as like Doinkette, like a girl. Because I could do it. I mean, I know I could.
Yeah. I mean, you've got charisma just by talking to you. You can tell that. Yeah. I mean, and that's something that that's not something you work on. That's God-given ability. They call it the it factor in wrestling. You either got that or you don't. I mean, you can have $1 million look, but if you don't have the it factor to be able to talk, to be able to connect with fans, then you're just another good body, which don't last long. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
Well, you would have been, and I sent you this, man. What would have been really neat about it is you would have been a third generational wrestler. Your grandpa, Tough Tony Bourne, your dad, Matt Bourne, and then Teagen. Would you have went as Teagen Bourne or would you win as Teagen Osborne?
Oh, I would probably do the Bourne. I would have to keep that going.
Well, let me ask you another question. I mean, this is just off the head, but did you ever see any of your dad's ECW work when he was born again?
Yes.
That was some of the best work that I have ever seen, honestly. Like, I'm a huge Brian Pillman. I like the loose cannon character. But that Born Again, the way he was like, I mean, he was half Doink, turn around. That was genius. And I can't remember if I talked to Shane Douglas or somebody else that was in the company at the same time. And I was like, what was going on with Matt Bourne at that time, man? Because it was on the cusp of getting over big. He said, man, Matt was getting it over, and then he disappeared. He said he was like in the middle of this character, and it was going awesome, and then he said he just disappeared.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what happened when he disappeared, but if you think about that gimmick he did then, I mean, you could just tell how intelligent he was as a man. Because, like, who would think of that? Because it was so true, though. It was because he was Doink. He made Doink who he was.
Yes.
Like, if you watch, like, I can't even think of an example, but I'm just going to speak out loud here. A movie where you see maybe, like, I'm trying to think of, like, when a doll comes to life. That was what my dad did with Doink. He literally breathed into it, and it became something. Like, he did a great job. And then when he got fired, he was like, well, you're not going to be able to do Doink without me. And they couldn't, obviously.
Yeah, that never worked.
Yeah, and I honestly think the Born Again, I mean, I think that he did it because he wanted people to know that he did Doink. He's the one that did that shit. Because he did.
Well, for Paul Heyman to give him that creativity, that because that means a lot. When a promoter will give you like control over your character and trust you enough to go out and be like, hey, dude, go get it over. I know you can do it. And let him have that free reign to do that, man. And it proved because of his promos in ECW were some of the best I didn't even know that he was that good of a talker until I really dug in and watched his Born Again stuff, man. Listen, guys out there, if you're watching this, Doink was great. And it's iconic. Like she said, nobody can, I mean, Ray Apollo did it, and it was comedic. It wasn't, when Matt Bourne did it, it was a man that was going through something in his life, and he channeled that into a evil clown that was very realistic. So go back, but check out the Born Again stuff, because I'm a huge fan. Had a guy on here also, once he found out you were going to be on, excuse me. He says he was a big fan of Big Josh in WCW. That was a fun one because he came to the ring with the Bears. You remember that?
Yep. He was scared to death. He told me, he goes, I don't get scared in my life, but when I had to carry those Bears, he was scared. He didn't look like it, but he was freaking out inside. But he did it. So
he was a good little character. He looked good at that time. Actually, he was in really good shape, man. Dark tan, the big hairy chest, strong shoulder. I mean, it was perfect. You're a man's man, lumberjack didn't get no better than that.
Yeah.
And you know what? We've talked about a lot of the sad stuff, not sad stuff, really good stuff. But listen, you're a dog mom, right? You got 3 dogs, I seen.
I do, yeah. Three little pups.
What kind are they?
They're Shih Tzus, full bred Shih Tzus.
Oh, really? How long have you had them?
I got Louie, so I have Louie, Lenny, and Lucky are their names. I got Louie during COVID, and then when I got Lenny, I got him as a gift to myself when I passed my last CPA exam. I was like, I'm going to buy another dog. And then when I bought my first house in October of 22, about 4 months later, I'm like, I was scrolling through Facebook, and my breeder, I'm friends with my breeder, and she posted her Lucky, and I'm like, oh my God, this puppy's so cute. I wonder if she's just posting it for attention or if he's available. So I messaged her. I said, is he available? He's so cute. She goes, actually, the buyer just backed out. I said, he's mine. So I drove 2 hours to go get him.
Do all 3 of them get along well?
They do. Louie, the oldest, and Lucky, the youngest, kind of took a while to get used to each other. But other than that, yeah, I mean, they all sleep together, and Louie and Lenny sleep with me. Lucky sleeps alone because he doesn't like to be in my bed for some reason. But yeah, I mean, they're my kids. So,
we've got a 13-year-old son. He's our only child. And, I mean, we basically just give him the world, honestly. I mean, he's a sport. I mean, he's got it made. I ain't gonna say spoiled. He's really respectful, good kid, but he's got it made. So about 3 years ago, we never had a dog. I mean, we never even wanted one. But for some reason, he said, I want a beagle dog. He wanted a beagle. And we were like, all right. So we tried to find him one. Well, a mutual friend was like, where we're from, they coon hunt, they rabbit hunt. So they were breeding these beagles. And he's like, man, I've got one up here. He can come get him if he wants. So we went and got the dog. And long story short, my wife has basically turned our dog that we've had into our kid. Like, he stays by on her, hugs her, lays in between us in the bed. This dog is, I mean, if you're eating, he'll come up and just start tapping you. So in the last 3 years, she got a tattoo of her dog on her forearm. So we've become dog parents also, and we love our beagle. I mean, it's insane. If you would have told me 3 years ago that you're going to have this dog and you're going to be this crazy about it, I'm 35 years old. I've been this long without a dog. I'm not going to. And now I'm 38, and I'm like, no, I couldn't do it without this dog.
They're just the best. They never are mad at you. They never dislike you. They're always excited to see you. Like, it's just a love that's so different than human love. It's like the best thing. And I love them. So.
That's the truth. And, he's so close with my wife that, I worry about the day something happens to him,
I think about that all the time. Like, I told the vet, I'm like, the day you do whatever you got to do to them, take me too. Okay. Yeah. That's just going to happen because I can't live without them.
That's the truth. I mean, I would have never foreseen this, honestly. I mean, it's just, you look at them almost, I mean, like they're, like you said, you're a mother to three dogs. And I said, you know what? That's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about that too, because we're parents of that little beagle out there, and he run, what they would say in Rule the Roost. That's what he does here.
They run the house. You should see their toy bin. It's overflowed with toys in the living room. I got to clean it. It's terrible. So yeah,
Well, how is your brother doing?
he's good. I actually just saw him the other day. He's 23. Is a spitting image of my father. So like when you said Big Josh the Lumberjack, the way he looked and the way his bearded, my brother looks just like him. It's insane. If you look on my Facebook page far enough, you'll see it was right before the Dark Side episode came out, and they were like posting pictures of my dad.
Yeah.
And this one picture, I was scrolling through Instagram and I'm like, why did Dark Side of the Ring just post a picture of my brother?
Look that much like him.
It was dad in the ring wrestling. And I put a picture right beside him of Matthew recently. Yeah. And I call my brother Matthew, and then my dad is Matt. So, but Matthew, I put the picture up. You can't even tell the difference. I kid you not. You have to find it. It's probably down like the third week of June. So you probably have to scroll a bit, but when you see it, your mouth will hit the ground. It was that crazy.
Did he ever have any interest in getting into the business?
He did. And I think, what kind of prevented him from doing that is he was only 12 when my dad died.
Yeah.
So, and like, I don't really know. I know what it feels like to lose a parent young, obviously, but a dad and a son's relationship is just different.
Yeah.
And it really, like, he's still, is sad about it. I mean, everybody's still sad about it, but life goes on eventually, but you still think about it. Like every anniversary, I'm sad still, especially when that 10-year mark hit. It wasn't an easy day for me. But Matthew, I mean, I feel like if my dad was still alive, Matthew would be wrestling. Really? I know he would.
Yeah.
But now I feel like I think he thinks in his head, and I could be wrong, but well, why am I doing it now? Dad's not here to see it.
Yeah.
Or he's not here to teach me, because my dad would teach him little stuff as he was older. Like they would play wrestle in the living room, and he would teach him like the whoopee cushion and teach him all this stuff. And Matthew, like, I feel like in his head, he's like, well, I want to learn from him. I don't want to learn from anybody else. So he would be phenomenal at it though. I mean, he has the natural body to do that. And like, he's super strong, just like my dad was. He doesn't even have to work out, and he's chiseled.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not as chiseled as he could be, but he looks like he works out, and he doesn't.
You guys, you've been gifted good genetics. I mean, all you guys. And sometimes some people don't have to work out as hard as some people, and they're just gifted.
Nope.
Their body don't have, it's got the metabolism to burn everything they eat. And I was like that till
I think I got Papa Tony's genes, because my Papa Tony was short. Okay. Yeah. I stopped growing at the age of 12. So I'm only 5'4". I'm super short. And everything I eat, I could look at food and I gain 5 pounds. And then Matthew's like 5'9", 5'11". So he's not as tall as my dad, but I don't know about, like, he is just oddly strong.
Yeah.
Very weird. He's very big, and he looks just like my dad. It's crazy.
Well, how did he feel about the Dark Side of the Ring? Did you guys feel all right about that, or did it kind of rub you the wrong way, or was everything cool?
Matthew, since he didn't do it, when he saw like the previews of what they were posting, he was mad.
Oh, really?
He was like, Teagen, why the hell would you do this? Like he was not happy with me or my mom. Yeah. And I was, Matthew, like, it's not as bad as you think it's going to be, because he didn't know this, but they let me watch it before it aired.
Yeah.
And, because I asked them, I said, I don't want to be surprised about anything. Right. And I told them, because the producers asked us when we went to go do our interviews, they said, what do you want out of this? And we said, we want to show everybody that my dad just wasn't a washed up loser and ruined his career because of drugs. Like, we want you to know everything.
Yeah.
We want you to know the truth of how we think that well, that we know that he died. And that was what we wanted out of it. And Matthew was mad at first, and then he watched it. And my mom told me, because me and my brother weren't talking for a little bit because he was really mad at me about it. But we just started talking recently. But he walked down the steps because him and my mom lived together still. And he was crying. And he was like, Mom, that was good. And I just can't believe how good it was.
Yeah.
So I think it really hit him that like there was bad parts, but the bad parts weren't lies. That's the thing. Like, they were true, unfortunately, but everybody makes mistakes. Nobody's perfect, you know what I mean? And I think Matthew's just so sensitive about my dad's death still. I mean, I am too, but he just doesn't want anybody to know anything bad about him.
Yeah.
But in reality, everybody does because he was famous. So, and it's hard for him to comprehend that,
Well, I mean, like you said, nobody's perfect. And
Nope.
if that episode could help somebody, then that's good. That's awesome. And that episode is one of my favorites because I got to see a lot of who he was as a father, and just the human more than the worker. Because listen, everybody had issues then. Everybody still got issues. There ain't a person walking that ain't. It's when you start casting judgment on people. That's when he who he has no sin cast the first kind. Everybody's got problems. And the side of the ring thing, I mean, I'm sure that I'm sure there was episodes that were far worse than that one, that shed bad light, because there wasn't much bad, really. I mean, it was just normal, man. It was just, to me, it was a good episode. I mean, I liked it. It was all right.
Yeah, I thought it was good. The only other thing that I didn't mention that I didn't like was, because I got a lot of bad backlash from this, and I didn't think I was, but people were mad when I said something about Ricky Steamboat. Okay. People were freaking out on me. And I'm like, guys, you weren't there. You don't know the context of the question. Like, they asked me about who he wrestled with. I said, yeah, it was Ricky Steamboat. And then what I said was, like, no offense against Steamboat. And I didn't mean that Steamboat sucked. I meant, I'm about to talk a lot about my dad right now. Yeah. And I don't want to like put the light out on Steamboat because I know he was great. Yeah. But I'm focusing on my dad. And that's what I meant. And people were like, yeah, I lost all respect for the daughter whenever she said no offense against Steamboat. I'm like, guys, you're reading it.
But you know what? That goes to tell you something right there. That's how over Steamboat was as a baby face. When people are getting mad about that, I mean, he was the ultimate good guy. It's hilarious. That's something you're going to laugh about for years.
Yeah, like I laugh about it now, and I'm like, because I would talk to my friends that are super wrestling fans, and they're like, yeah, I don't understand why people are freaking out about that. And I'm like, I don't either. Like, I didn't mean, it's not like I said Ricky Steamboat sucks ass. Yeah. Like, I didn't say that. You know what I mean?
That's just a good story you'll be able to tell everybody. Yeah. I would love for you to be able to tell Ricky Steamboat that, because I know I've met him a few times. He would get a kick out of that.
Yeah, I would say, dude, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it like that, okay? So.
Well, Teagen, I'll tell you what, thank you so much for being on here. It's been fun. And like I said, I know you've got a lot going on, and you giving me just a little bit of your time to talk about your life, man. Talk about what it was like growing up, and what about your father, which I'm a big fan of. But I'm going to do something before we get off here that's called rapid fire questions, where we just shoot straight, just so people can get to know you a little bit. Nothing huge, nothing you're going to have to think hard about. So the first one is, what is your favorite season of the year?
Fall.
Me too. You're a Michael Myers girl. So
yeah.
So fall for sure. Your favorite band or artist?
Oh, people might not know who this person is, but Babyface. Have you ever heard of Babyface?
Yes, Babyface from the 90s R&B. My goodness. My son just made an R&B playlist. He's 13, and he's got Babyface, Luther Vandross. I mean, my goodness.
Round of applause. Babyface is phenomenal. So he's my man. I was front row at his concert when he came to Pittsburgh.
That is so cool, because I would have never guessed that. But yeah, he was when I was a young kid, man, He was the swooner. The women loved him.
Yep. And he wrote all the Boys to Men songs. Like, oh, so good. His music will never die. It'll always be great. So,
What is your favorite movie of all time?
that's a hard one. I would say fun, like the funny side of movies, Step Brothers.
Love Step Brother. We went to the movies twice opening weekend and watched that. One time just wasn't enough.
No, that movie makes me laugh every time.
Well, let's see here. What's your favorite food?
Oh, pizza.
Yeah, I just went to Little Caesars. I probably ate 8 pieces of supreme pizza. I mean,
Yep.
What about Pepsi or Coke? Which one do you prefer?
Coke if it's from McDonald's, Pepsi if it's in a can.
God, Coke, McDonald's. They don't make it like that anywhere else, do they?
No, it's so good. It's literally crack. It's so
I'm telling you, every time, like we'll go through McDonald's and just get a large Coke and then go to Taco Bell.
Yep.
That's how we operate because listen, there is nothing like it. I mean, it's not, it should be a different soda on its own.
Yep, so good.
What is your dream vehicle?
Cool. Probably an all blacked out Lexus.
An all blacked out Lexus. Nice. Nice.
Yep.
Well, there you go, guys. We had some rapid fire questions with Teagen Osborne, the daughter of Matt Osborne, the granddaughter of Tough Tony Bourne. Listen, Teagen, it has been awesome. Thank you so much for, like I said, just giving us, this was fast. This was put together really fast. And, you didn't have, you didn't have to do this and you did it. And I appreciate it so much.
Yeah, of course. Not a problem.
And I have to, before we get off here, I have to give a shout out to my sponsors. I talked a little bit about Bo's Tractor Works. Bo's got the Appalachian Hills 11, the CBD cream that's helping so many people out. He's got the AW salve that's helping with dry skin, eczema. I mean, just anything. So Bo's Tractor Works. And we also got Starlight Financial Group. And he said to stop clowning around and let them handle your Medicare. So Brandon Newsom, thanks for that clowning around that quote. It went perfect tonight. So everybody go back, watch, the first episode, Rick Rude Jr., tonight, Teagen Osborne, and hopefully we get a few more of these. But thank you for being on a Wild Time podcast, Teagen, and don't be a stranger.
I won't. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.